So welcome everyone, and thank you for taking time to join us this afternoon. And a special welcome to the team from Waterloo Catholic to join us and share their experiences and perspectives of working with Binogi in their schools. And Barb and Carrie, I'll let you do the honors of introducing your team.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. I am happy to introduce everybody. Do you mind forwarding one slide, please, Christine?
Of course.
Thank you. So we are a group of educators from the Waterloo Catholic District School Board, and we are the first school board to partner with Binogi Canada. I think my dog is going to bark, so I apologize if that happens. We are a team of educators from both elementary and secondary here today. I'm here as the ML consultant, multilingual learners, grades 7 to 12, and my partner there you'll see is Barb McCourt, bottom right, and she is the ML consultant for grades K to 8. So we overlap in the 7-8. We also have some educators, including our lovely friend Shannon Patty. We have Jennifer Mendez. We have Katie Kirk. We have at the top right there, you'll see Brianna Philippe. She's our secondary teacher representative today. And we have Catherine Connors from Halifax, Binogi, Canada. Forward one slide, please.
So thank you for inviting us to be part of this webinar today. My name is Catherine and I am joining you from Nova Scotia today. And I'm just going to give you a brief overview of what Binogi is for those of you who perhaps are unfamiliar with Binogi at this point in time. Binogi is a digital multilingual learning platform. It was founded in Sweden in 2011. The platform has evolved quite a bit in the last 11 years, and we are in what we would call our 4th generation of development. The majority of content on Binogi's platform is based on the Intermediate Division Mathematics and Science curriculum. Currently, there are approximately 700 video lessons available on Canada's Binogi platform. New content is added every week. Video lessons are 3 to 5 minutes in length with audio, subtitles, transcripts, concepts, and assessment for learning quizzes. Students can select their preferred language to watch a video lesson and to complete the quiz. And there are a number of scaffolds in place for students, including the following. We have engaging visuals through animated videos. We have language input in the language of instruction, as well as in the student's mother tongue. And we provide visual and audio language input, so visual and auditory language input. There are currently 11 languages available for students on Binogi's platform, including English and French. Many of the languages included on the platform are languages of refugee children, languages such as Arabic, Tigrinya, Somali, and Dari. I would encourage you to follow Binogi on Twitter in the next few days, as there should be an announcement upcoming soon regarding new languages to be added to the platform in the very near future. As Carrie pointed out when she introduced me, I am in Halifax, our main production studio now for Binogi, even though it was founded in Sweden, is actually in Canada, in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Binogi promotes an inclusive and equitable learning environment by making learning accessible for all students. I think you're going to hear about that today. It is an asset-based approach where we view and leverage language as an asset for students, so mother tongue is seen as a resource for student learning. We believe that students will see themselves and their home language on the platform honored and represented, so that should strengthen student self-esteem and confidence. And I believe Jennifer will speak to the piece that will actually encourage parental involvement for students and schools who are using Binogi. Carrie, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks. I was going to say advance one slide. You already did that. The Waterloo Catholic District School Board partnered with Binogi, and what we really liked about Binogi is how sound it is in pedagogical practice and how that Binogi continues to work in collaboration with researchers at Boise U of T as well as several universities in Europe to ensure the learning materials are curriculum-based and pedagogically sound. All development is informed by user feedback and ongoing research. So it really, truly is a partnership.
So as we began our conversation on this journey with Binogi, we continued to just come back to that concept of equity. And that was really a cornerstone for us in the discussion and thinking about joining into partnership with Binogi. So in our conversations with our SO, we discussed the research behind Binogi. We discussed the many ways in which this platform would provide equitable access to academic concepts for all of our students, regardless of their language of instruction or their language of instruction being English, but whatever their first language is, that they would be able to access the material with those languages that are available on Binogi. Binogi supports our board's vision and mission statements. It supports our BIPSA and our SIPSA. So we really had a solid grounding to help us move forward with this partnership. Once we decided to proceed with Binogi, we worked really closely with Catherine, and we continue to do so. She is our intrepid Binogi counterpart and colleague, and she is really, truly always there for us to support us with onboarding and rolling out Binogi. She's helped us to set goals for the rollout, hosted onboarding sessions with many of our schools and more coming up. So really helping us to facilitate the implementation of Binogi in our year one target schools. Our implementation plans are staggered over the next 3 years and include maximizing student, teacher, and parent engagement with Binogi. And now I think I'm turning it over to Jen to tell us a little bit more about translanguaging. So if you could advance one, please, Christine. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me here. As teachers, we're always trying to do our best to facilitate differentiated and robust learning environments for our students. Binogi has definitely been a tool that my colleagues and I have been using to create just that, or to do our best to try to do that. Binogi allows students to use different languages together as a tool for learning. So you can see from the list of languages shown on the slide, and Catherine even alluded to that there's going to be more coming, which is amazing. Binogi uses some tremendous efforts to allow students in our care to use their home languages as a tool and to see their first and home language as an asset, which is really key here. From my experience, Binogi has really helped to accomplish 2 major goals. So firstly, to promote student achievement. And secondly, and perhaps with equal importance or maybe even more importance, it's really helped to create an environment that is welcoming and culturally responsive to the learners in our care. Binogi does this by helping teachers, like mentioned, with more differentiation in the classroom. And it addresses challenges that as teachers we face all the time about, meeting students, learning styles, providing feedback and assessment that's readily available to them and to us. It allows students to leverage their first language to show their understanding of content that they are learning. Binogi creates a safe and welcoming place and responds to the diverse needs that we are seeing in our classrooms more and more. For students to hear their first language, their home languages, and see it celebrated and used as a tool for learning within their classroom fosters confidence and acceptance and provides agency for students who often sometimes feel misunderstood or that they haven't been heard. Binogi allows multilingual learners the opportunity to learn content using the languages that they feel that they most feel comfortable learning in. And with teaching MLs, we recognize that sometimes it's not a clear step that they've reached that is going to allow them to not need to leverage that language. They might need to go back and toggle between languages for a while, and that's great. And it's seen as an asset to do that, right? Binogi helps to remind us that language is a social construct. So yeah, we're learning math and science, and that's what we're trying to learn, math and science. And it doesn't matter the language that we're learning that in. And Binogi just really speaks to that, and allows us to understand that our other languages that we speak can be really used as a tool.
I'm going to talk a little bit about how I've used Binogi in the classroom. So I'm currently co-teaching in a grade 7 class, and I found that it's easy to integrate Binogi into lessons. We usually use it to introduce a topic at the start of a unit in math or science. So because the predominant language of our ML students is Tigrinya, we often show a video from Binogi in English with Tigrinya subtitles for the entire class. Then we give students an opportunity to individually watch the video again in their first language on the Chromebook, and then they complete the quizzes independently. I've also found it useful that there's a teacher section of the website, so you can go back and you can track student progress, see which questions they did well in or didn't, and then you can go back and review concepts as needed. There are students that also say that they use Binogi at home. So if they're working on homework and they're struggling at all, they've used that as a reference to go back and rewatch a video. I often use Binogi with small groups to either extend a lesson or to pre-teach a concept. So I like that it gives students the confidence that they can learn a challenging concept in their first language, that they're smart, they're capable, and they can do the same work as their peers. So, for example, I was recently teaching students about factors, and I was with a group of 3 pre-1 students, and they weren't really getting the concept very well, I thought. So I thought I'll look on Binogi and see if they have a video, and I found one on factors. And right away, we watched it in Tigrinya, and they started talking back and forth. I could tell they kind of like brightened up. They were getting it. And then another student came over who was not an ML student, so English was their first language, and they said, I need some help. And I said, well, the video is here. Do you want to watch it? And they said, no, I'm okay. And they looked and they said, wait, are they doing the same work that we're doing? And I said, yeah. And then they decided they were going to watch that video. So I like that it makes grade level curriculum accessible for students and builds their confidence.
Thanks, Christine. So we do have a hashtag WCDSB Binogi that you can follow if you like to see some of our wonderful students engaging in the learning using Binogi. I think we have to do a better job at getting some more recent tweets up there, but we will get them up there. Binogi often retweets these tweets, so you have something that you can see on occasion. So follow us. Thanks.
Hi, I'm a grade 8 co-teacher, ML co-teacher, and in my class, these are students from my class, and we have a wide range of language acquisition levels from pre-1 all the way to students whose home language is English. And we use Binogi as a way to introduce a topic a lot. And we introduce it to the whole class because we really use it as a whole class resource, not just as an ML resource. When you look across the room when we are doing that, you'll see the screens where they have text in a multitude of languages, and you can hear different languages being spoken, but all the students are learning the exact same thing. And so it's a good reference point to build your lessons off of because everyone has heard the same information. And if you look at, where is it? Oh, Jenny. So Jenny on this talks about how she's step 6, so she's pretty high. And she talks about how she watches the video initially in English, and then she goes back if she still doesn't understand and watches it again in Spanish to help her. And that really touches upon something that we not always are able to do, is that these are multilingual learners where they've learned some concepts in English, they've learned some concepts in their home language, and now they have a way to sandwich that information together. And Binogi really supports that.
Hi, I am a secondary science teacher at one of the biggest high schools in Ontario, actually. So we are lucky enough to have a very large ELL student population, which means that we can have subject adapted courses. So the students that I teach in grade 9 and 10 for grade 9 and 10 science is just solely ELL students in my class. And the challenges with that, like in many other classrooms, is you're going to have students with a range of English ability. So I have found that using Binogi, especially for students that have a lower level of English, is very beneficial for them because now they can listen and solidify a concept in their first language, and it allows them to understand that concept a lot better. I have taught science, ELL science, for grade 9s before being introduced to Binogi. And what I liked to do was to help supplement their learning. I would include some videos, but those videos would always be in English. And I did notice that a lot of the students would check out once I started playing this video because they couldn't understand what was being said in them. And although it did visualize the concept very well, it unfortunately didn't really get to them the way that I wanted it to. So this year when Carrie introduced Binogi to me, I was really grateful for that because I practiced with it. I'm teaching it right now for grade 9 with ELL students. And we were learning about, for example, we were learning about the periodic table. And for chemistry specifically, a lot of the grade 9 content, you don't really learn about it in elementary school. So a lot of it's new and it's complex with science, new vocabulary and everything like that. So on top of them having to learn English as a new language, they're also learning all these different terms and scientific vocabulary. So we're learning about the periodic table and learning about trends in it and atomic numbers, mass numbers. And when I'm saying all this to them in class, it's going over their heads a lot of the time. And I gave them worksheets and they tried practicing with it and it just wasn't getting to them. So I looked at Binogi and I noticed they had a video on periodic table trends. And so I got them all to watch it and you can see in the pictures there, that's what they're doing there. They're learning about the trends in the periodic table and they did the quizzes after. And I was looking back on the teacher section and I noticed that a lot of the students who weren't understanding it prior to showing them the video were now understanding it and they were getting a lot of the questions right. So I did notice that there's an ability for them to now, instead of having to be scared about not knowing the English language and just checking out of the video, they're now understanding the video and understanding the concept. So it really helps to solidify those concepts and it eliminates the need for the student to try to focus so hard on understanding English and just allows them to focus on the scientific concept being taught instead.
So as Carrie mentioned, I'm her half-time partner teaching, being the ML consultant, but the other half-time, I am an ELD teacher at Resurrection. And we use Binogi quite a bit, and it facilitates that accelerated learning that we have that is necessary for students in the ELD program. So students are able to access that academic language for the content in mathematics in their first language. And with the aid of using translanguaging, code switching, the students develop the vocabulary to engage with the mathematics content. And I find that it's helpful for me too, because we go and we'll watch a video and I will pick up with their help, the Tigrinya term for a certain mathematical operation. And then I'm able to sort of substitute that into my regular instruction and we quickly get to what we need to do. So many of the students in our ELD program speak Tigrinya, which as you may know, is not a language that's available on Google Translate or other tools that sometimes MLs are able to access. But Tigrinya is available and it has been, the scripts, the subtitles have all been written by actual first language Tigrinya speakers. So we know that information is correct and is authentic translation. So the students that when I played a video for the students for the first time that they heard heard Tigrinya in a school setting doing some academic work, the students were just over the moon. They started everyone just started laughing. They were so happy and so excited. So it is definitely something that the students feel that pride in being able to use their language to help them begin to understand concepts or deepen their understanding or connect to other things that they already knew. So as Brianna mentioned, they're not struggling to think so hard about the language, they're able to really engage with the content. So sometimes we use Binogi as part of the class instruction, maybe sometimes for homework or independent review. Some of the students use it for, to help them at home when they're doing some homework. So in these photos that you can see, the students first watched a video on order of operations, and then they worked with a partner at the Whitebooks to solve problems and identify errors with problems in order of operations. So it's certainly just one, it's not a be all and an end all, and the quizzes, as Catherine mentioned, are great assessment for learning, but it's a great resource to just be able to have some content in these bite-sized chunks of 4 to 5 minutes, and students can get that and go. Another thing that we've done in the ELD program is using the science videos to build background knowledge and kind of as a jumping point for, in this COVID times as a LEA of, watching a science video about the water cycle and then taking that information and going through the writing process, brainstorming, what did we hear, what did we learn, and then all the way through to writing a paragraph about the water cycle. So there are many, many uses with that accelerated programming with Binogi. Now I think I'm going to turn it back to Brianna on the next slide. Thanks, Christine.
So as I mentioned before, at the school that I'm at, we have these ELL adapted level courses. So we have different teachers teaching a subject, such as, like I mentioned, science before, there's math, but there's also like geography, history, civics, careers, all these high school level courses. So I went and I talked to a bunch of them, and we like to bounce ideas off each other and stuff like that. But the thing that I noticed was a lot of the time we talk about the use of translators for a lot of these students. And I think it's important to note that when a student is learning in the language, in their L1 language or their first language, they're a lot more comfortable, and it allows them to feel more like they have a sense of belonging in the classroom. And with that comfort, they get a lot more confident in their ability to let you know what they have learned. And with this, like teaching them in English is one thing, but allowing them to have these different sources where they can learn things in their own language, like using translators, or even things like Binogi, which is, based off science and math, is definitely very beneficial for them and for them in their learning. And when I talked to other teachers, they said there was examples passed around, like the one student was given a test in chemistry, and they didn't do very well, but in class they were very vocal and they seemed to understand what they were doing, but it seemed on the test they just got confused with the English that was on there. So the next test they were given, they were able to use the translator so that they were able to read the test in their own language, and then they were able to their grade went up a lot. So they ended up doing a lot better because now they understood what was being asked of them. And I think that's the difference. So we have to remember that in these courses, they're not being graded on their ability to speak English. They're rather being graded on their ability to learn the curriculum. So in these subject adapted courses, it's really important to remember that.
So when we think about home and school partnership, Binogi offers something that's really unique because oftentimes our multilingual learner parent community really wants to be very involved and engaged with their child's learning. And this allows them to do that. Students can go home and share the learning that's been happening in their class with their families. And parents and kids can watch content videos together in their home language and complete quizzes together and try their best to learn a science task or a skill or content area together at home. So they are able to learn not just with their teachers, but maybe with another guardian or parent that does speak the same first language and home language as them as well. It really helps to affirm a student's background, knowledge, and experience. So it invites a family's experience into the learning, and it acknowledges again that academic learning is not exclusive to English. just like Brianna pointed out and my other colleagues. So it was really neat a few months ago, so prior to Christmas break, in the co-teaching class that I'm a part of. It's a grade 7-8 class. We had the opportunity, obviously, of trying some Binogi tasks and assignments. And kids completed a few quizzes in class. And we simply told the kids to go home, bring their Chromebooks, put it on the kitchen table, and just play some lessons together, let their parents and family members listen. And slowly we found out that by doing that and parents hearing academic language in their first language really became the central hub around that Chromebook. So there were a lot of kids also, like maybe their age or a little bit younger or older, that were taking part in some of the lessons as well and being part of that conversation. One specific girl really stood out to my co-teacher and I, because the next day after we had first launched the lessons and told the kids to go home and share, the student's a really quiet, really reserved student. We met the kids, as we always do, outside in their line before coming in the doors. And as soon as she saw us come out, she got out of her line and came and addressed me and said, "Ms. Mendez, I went home and I showed them Binogi." And my dad said, "It's amazing. It's fantastic." And you could see just the joy in her face from being able to share. It really kind of uncharacteristic of her to share something like that with us up until that point. So you could really see that there was some really true love and engagement that came with the conversations that were happening at home. This girl specifically, she is a higher step student, so she's not often needing to leverage her first language anymore in classroom. But her parents do require to hear the first language for them to be a part of the conversation and academic learning. So the child was just so happy to have shared that with her parents, and that her parents felt that she was doing something good, and that, school environment was a happy and fun place for her to be. And so that really validated her feelings. And for us, I think it filled my co-teacher and I up just as much as it did her that day. And in many other cases, in conversation with other students, we've had, I had one Spanish speaking student who shared that her mother is learning a language, some adult language learning courses to learn English and some other courses as well. And she's been using Binogi as a tool as well to learn, so that they're actually doing it at home together. So, which is a very neat experience. So I think it really does, Binogi really offers a really unique and maybe innovative way for the very first time, where we're seeing a lot more home and school partnerships happening.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Carrie and Barb and Brianna.
I think we went a little long, Christine, so we probably ate up all of our question time. But you can see we had a lot to share, and we were very excited to share it. So thanks for having us.
Well, thank you so much. Are there any questions from the guests here today? I'm sure that you guys are available to answer questions if other people from other boards have questions, and Catherine, I'm sure, is available to also give more details about the actual programming and anything else to do with school boards. But I want to thank Katie and Jen and Carrie and Barb and Chen and Brianna for taking the time to put this together and to share some of the insights that you've gathered from using the program with students, and bringing student voice to what this program can offer to educators, multilinguals, and their families to continue curriculum learning, but also to develop first language and multiple language skills with academic vocabulary.
There is a question in the chat,
Oh,
Christine.
Carrie.
It's from Katie. She's just asking concerns about pricing. Did we have any concerns about pricing? Catherine, you are here. Did you want to maybe touch on how the pricing works for Binogi?
I think that if there are concerns about pricing, it really is a conversation that needs to happen with all of the various school boards with Binogi directly. But Carrie, I think maybe that question was more about, did Waterloo Catholic have any concerns about pricing at the time, is what I'm interpreting that question to mean. But again, I believe that pricing for the digital engagement project, which is the 3-year project that Waterloo Catholic is part of, that conversation needs to happen with Binogi with each individual school board, because every school board is of a different size.
Yes, thanks, Catherine. And I think anytime money is spent, it's always a concern for any school board. So I would say, sure, there were concerns, but there's a lot of benefits. So I guess you would have to, you know, work with your superintendents, whoever's making those decisions about how money is spent in your board, because Binogi does provide an equitable playing field for all students, not just MLs.
Carrie, on that note, I guess my question would be, are you using it just with those sheltered, you know, subject areas in the high schools, or are you using it K-12 with any teacher that would be interested in using it?
Well, the platform itself really doesn't cater much to the primary grades.
Right,
It's you're right. So we do use it. I've seen its use from grades 4 and up, and I always love to give the example that I was just helping my daughter with math last quadmester, and I forgot how to do something. So let's get on Binogi. She now has her own Binogi account. She's a first language Canadian-born English speaker, and she was in a grade 11 math class. So I think that there's opportunities to pick and choose from various videos that could help you align to a lot of curriculum. But I would say grade 4 and up, maybe even a little bit later, would be where we would start. But all the way up, I see use for it. We did have a teacher who was teaching grade 12 college level physics who had all of his students on it as well.
So your board has taken it on that any teacher can be using it then in whatever grade is needed.
Yes, sorry, I wasn't clear about that. Yes.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know. And if any of the presenters are comfortable sharing their emails in the chat, I think some people Maria might have a question or two after. I want to thank everyone for joining us this afternoon after school, and I want to especially thank the teachers at Waterloo Catholic for the time and their expertise in sharing their experience with this program. And I think if there's any other questions, I'm sure Binogi would be more than happy to